In the Y2K, a young brother emerged to take the marching band world of commentary by storm. Tired of all that band trash talk, he set out on a mission to inject robust flavor while keeping things moving in the right direction. Want that straight talk? That 100? That spot on commentary? Then maybe you should get yourself a shot of prune juice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 3 of the Prunalysis for 2016. This is Joe Beard and happy to be of service for you. We appreciate all those listening through iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, our website, our blog, or wherever you are on the interwebs. At the end of the broadcast, if you decide you like the show, then we appreciate a donation to the network if you feel so in your heart, of course. Just simply go to themarchingpodcast.com and click on the donate button to help improve the show and help build our scholarship fund. This podcast is presented to you by Block Band Music and Publishing, The Edge One Productions, and Double Time Entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. We welcome you to part 3 of the 2016 Prunalysis with Rashad, aka Prune Juice himself. Instead of cramming all the details and the analysis in the 90 Degree Show, this podcast focuses more on the technical conversation with Rashad. Rashad is now making his notes digital, and we are producing this podcast here at TMP Studios. In this podcast, Rashad introduces a simple formula that people can use when deciding what they see when they see a marching band. We will discuss Benedict College to continue our conversation from part 2 of the Prunalysis. Rashad will also talk about Kentucky State, and Rashad will also talk about one of his favorite bands of all time, Norfolk State University. And if you guys know Rashad, you know I'm completely kidding with that last statement. If you're listening through our Lipson service and see the comment section, feel free to leave your thoughts on what you hear. You can email the show at marchingpodcast@gmail.com, tweet us at marchingpodcast, or follow our blog, blog4.themarchingpodcast.com. In addition to tweeting us at Marching Podcast, make sure to add the hashtag Prunalysis to add more conversation about the podcast. Hashtag PRUNALYSIS. Hashtag Prunalysis.
Let's talk about some of the smaller bands here, which often don't get as much shine. We want to make sure that we are finding out who's doing what out there so we can let those organizations have some love as well. I want to talk about Benedict College, who is going to the Honda Battle of the Bands this year, or next year actually. And we're going to talk about Kentucky State University. Now, before we get into those two bands, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my brand new rubric for judging marching bands. I think that it's very important that anytime you try to determine, hey, who was the better or who's the best or how well did this band do, you should always compare them to a certain standard in your mind. So you have to know what you're looking for. In my opinion, that being a great band really starts with 4 basic elements. Starts with uniformity, then it has to do with your flow. From there, it's tempo and energy, and then lastly, it's surprise. Now, there are some other things involved in being a great band. Having a great show overall really boils down to these 4 basics. Uniformity simply means that as far as your marching style is concerned, everybody's hitting the same knee lift, everybody's marching the same way. The overall look of the band is the same. Everybody looks uniform as far as the uniforms are concerned. Their marching style, as far as are they marching 8-5 or whatever the style is, all those things are important. Uniformity has to do with music as well. Is everybody playing the same way, or are different people articulating in different ways? Are people sticking out? This is all uniformity. Uniformity is important because uniformity sets the basis of how your band is going to perform. If your band is very uniform, you're going to really draw your crowd into what you're doing. If everybody's marching the same way and you have that visual impact of, wow, look at that, that looks awesome, then you're really going to draw your crowd into it. Some of the best things that you're going to see people do when you're looking at other people, whether you're talking about marching band or gymnastics or any type of artistic expression that human beings do, when you get a lot of people doing the same thing, it's very appealing to the human eye. So uniformity has got to be where you start, because if you're playing great music, but everybody looks different, it really takes away from what you're doing. You can not play great music and still look awesome, and it'll kind of draw people in. Bethune-Cookman is, of course, everybody knows, probably the best at doing this as far as uniformity is concerned. Southern University, of course, is another great one with uniformity. The next thing is the flow of your show. Does it flow from one thing to the next thing, and does it make musical and artistic sense? Or is your show just kind of stopping? A good example of flow is Howard University for years has transitioned from their Dance Girl song straight into their dance routine without stopping and blowing the whistle. It just flows very, very well. And there's so many bands, when you see them, yes, the drum major instruments does this, has this effect, the drill has this effect, and then this has this effect, and it just moves very nicely. Flow is very important. Tempo and energy is the next thing. Tempo is very important. You can't be too fast, but what's worse than being too fast is playing something too slow and being dead on the field. Having good hitting that pocket and getting that tempo right works. And also having energy in what you're doing. When you're hitting that dance routine, it's everybody boom, boom, boom. This really kills a lot of bands, because when they get to their dance routine, they don't have any energy. Energy is very important. Then the last thing is surprise. Surprise really is the counterbalance for the other three. A good band will be the first three. They'll be uniform, their show will make sense, and they'll have a lot of energy involved in what they're doing. But then a great band has surprise, which means that they hit you with something which you weren't expecting. Now, the only way that works is if you have uniformity. If you hit you with something that you weren't expecting, but the band doesn't look good, that's a gimmick. The gimmick is saving your show. If the band looks good, looks uniform, everything is great, they have mentally drawn you into what's happening, so you're really focusing on what's happening, and this looks really good. Wow, this is awesome. And all of a sudden they hit you with something that you weren't expecting. Wow, that's how you really take it to the next level. To me, that's how you get your crowd to stand up and be really excited about what you're doing. There's a lot of good bands out there. There's not that many great bands.
Band directors, have you ever found yourselves in this situation? Showtime is quickly approaching. Your budget is quickly disappearing. Your music choices are narrowing. The equipment condition is wearing and your stress level is mounting. Stop what you're doing and contact Block Band Music and find out how we've got you. Check www.blockbandmusic.com, providing music, equipment, gear, and accessories to show style, core style, and traditional bands worldwide.
Hello, this is Dr. Martin Rex Kedziora. I am the Chief Academic Officer for the Moreno Valley Unified School District. I'm a graduate of the University of La Verne, where I received my doctorate degree, and you are listening to the Marching Podcast Radio Network.
Now that we've stated these four things, let's go ahead and talk about Benedict College in Kentucky State. I've had the opportunity to see Benedict College, I believe it was 3 times this year. I saw them at the Queen City Battle of the Bands. I saw them at the Dillon High School Battle of the Bands. And then again, I saw them on video as preparing for a show. I saw them at the Queen City Battle of the Bands, but I didn't really have the opportunity to really appreciate what they were doing because it started raining incredibly right then. You guys go back and listen to the 90 Degree Show back from the beginning of the season. We hashed all that out already. There were no umbrellas in the stadium. It was terrible. I did, however, enjoy hearing their O Fortuna. I think their trumpet section and mellophone section did a great job of that. So there's that uniformity that we're talking about. I saw them again at the Dillon High School Battle of the Bands. I was standing right in front of them. I saw uniformity to some extent, but there's some things I like to address right there. Number one, just a couple of different things as far as the marching style overall, or horn carriage style. Like there were some times where, let's say, if they put the instruments down, the trumpets might go all the way to a carrier position, with the actually holding the trumpet in your hand with the bell facing the crowd, versus the mellophones might put their horns down facing the ground. It seems like a little insignificant thing, and it kind of is, but it's really not, because these things take away from your uniformity. It takes away from the baseline that the audience is going to start with, that's going to then allow you to really have a great show. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things I saw in the video of them performing. I saw them performing, and they were doing a tribute to, I believe, someone that had just passed away, and they were all standing on the sidelines. I saw that the people that were standing directly in front of the band director were all facing him directly and had their instruments up. But the people that were on the ends had to turn in some. It's a small thing, but it did take away from the uniformity. Well, in the meantime, there were two drum majors on the field. Perhaps it might have worked to actually have the drum majors on the sidelines and then allow the band members to face straight ahead and look at the drum majors, and allow the drum majors to conduct, so that those members can face straight ahead and the drum majors can look at the band director. I know you're like, oh, Rashad, that's an opinion. Yeah, it is an opinion. And when it comes to uniformity, you try to make everything uniform. If they had just done that small little thing, it would have upped the baseline from where they started for the rest of the show. In addition to that, you had several band members that were standing there, ones that were not performing, and they were just kind of standing there in the way. They weren't staying at attention or doing anything like that. So the fact that they were in uniform, standing in front of the band, not being uniform, it took away as well. These small things right there really kind of lowered the baseline from their show. From there, they went out on the field. They did a decent show, but again, uniformity was a major thing that I saw with them. Small problems as far as how everybody looks, as far as the marching style is concerned, the instrument carriage, things like that. It took away from things that they excelled in, like how the music sounded. They were very uniform as far as the music was concerned, but not so uniform as far as the marching style, or when you hit a yard line, making sure you get out of the pocket, things like that. The flow of the show was good. The show made sense. I would have wanted some more tempo and more energy, but with the place where they were really lacking was surprise. When I watched the show, there wasn't really anything that made me say, oh, wow. It was a good show, from top to bottom. And so I think Benedict College is doing well. But I believe that if they focus more on the uniformity, making sure that everybody is locked in, doing exactly the same thing, and truly buying into the vision of the band director, I think that's going to help. And then once that's locked in, really hitting us with that surprise, that's really going to take them to the next level. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about Kentucky State. I had the opportunity to see them against Central State earlier this year. I have not seen Kentucky State in performance in many, many years. Had a hard time watching them because they have a lot of green and gold in their colors. And, just watching that, it just kind of makes me have a mental spasm. But I got past it because at least we didn't have to behold it. Kentucky State, wow. Man, this is Honda Battle of Bands 2018 for me. I'm very excited to see what Kentucky State is going to do. So let's talk about those 4 points that I just mentioned. Number one, uniformity. Their band is very uniform. Their marching style looks good. They all hit the corners the same way. They all turn the same way. I remember they made some type of formation, and I think they had like an X going in the middle of the field, and everybody was hitting that yard line. Boom, boom, boom. Everybody was hitting that corner. Boom. And it was sharp, man. And like I said, the marching was very good. The flow of their show was very good. The tempo, wow. Actually, watching Kentucky State was the thing that really made me think about these 4 things. Because I was listening to the show and I was watching, I was like, gosh, the tempo, the energy is really pushing me. This is a really good performance here. So they had the first 3 things. I'm very excited about that. They didn't have a lot of surprise. And again, this is the thing that really takes you over to the next level. You can be a good band with the first 3, but if you want to have a great band, you've got to build us up to something and then completely throw us off with something that we haven't seen before. It doesn't have to be singing. It doesn't have to be a dude coming out with roller skates or, kind of any type of stuff like that. It doesn't have to be rapping. It can be anything. It can just be you making a formation on the field that we weren't expecting, or doing something that we just were not prepared that you would do. Bring a celebrity out that we didn't know that you were going to have. But any of these things will really take you, really honestly, to the great level. And I think Kentucky State is looking really good right now. As far as uniformity is concerned, they're looking really good. There's still some things that they can tighten up on. It was a really, really good show. I want to see them get great. And they have definitely made a fan out of me. I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Kentucky State in the near future. And prayerfully, they will get the opportunity to show what they're all about at the Honda Battle of the Bands in 2018.
The Marching Podcast Network is a network of podcasts with a purpose to inspire, educate, and show positive images in our community. Our network produces podcasts about college marching bands, business, health, finances, college preparation, spirituality, instrumentation development, along with one-on-one interviews with strong role models in our community. All podcasts are interactive and invite you, the listener, to call in and speak. Looking for a podcast network that educates and inspires to make our world a better place? Then listen to us. Check out our website at themarchingpodcast.com. Tweet us at marchingpodcast, or follow our blog at blog4.themarchingpodcast.com. The Marching Podcast, changing the world through positive interaction.
Hello, this is Kelly Charles, an educator from Houston, Texas, and a very proud graduate of Grambling State University, the place where everybody is somebody. I'm looking forward to sharing with this listening audience all of the great things about my experiences in the field of education. And of course, I have to talk about the world-famed Tiger Marching Band. Finally, shout out to my sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. You are listening to the Marching Podcast Radio Network.
Norfolk State University, school that's on their come up right now. They are returning back to where they were in early 2000s. I was very excited to see them. Norfolk State, this is Honda Battle of the Bands 2018. I'm telling you, man, they are. And of course, it pains me to say it. It hurts my heart to be able to say it. But Prune Juice has got to give credit where credit is due. Norfolk State is really putting in a lot of work. So I saw them against A&T earlier this year. And I really thought, as far as the halftime shows were concerned, there was a very evenly matched show. It was very hard for me to determine a clear winner for their halftime shows, because both of the bands do the hybrid style. Hybrid style, of course, is where you are combining the elements of core style and show style. Norfolk State has been doing that for much longer, actually, than A&T, but they both do a good job of it. You're marching, your high knee lift going to the straight ahead. When you move to the left, sometimes you're keeping your horn facing, but then you are marching to the left while keeping your horn facing home. And then you're doing a core style movement while you're backing up. So both bands are good with that. They both do a lot of drilling. I thought A&T did more drilling, but Norfolk State sound, they have a very good sound. They really worked to get that sound to a really good place. I was very excited about their performance. Now, granted, I wasn't as excited as I would have liked to have been for both of the shows. But then here's what I did. After I finished watching that show, as we were preparing for the radio show that night, I started watching other bands. And as I watched other bands, I really began to appreciate both Norfolk State and A&T, because there was a level of musicianship from both bands, and a level of marching, and a level of uniformity from both bands that you just didn't see everywhere. You hear something, there's a lot of counter melodies going on, and there's a lot of good ballads going on. It actually is easy to take it for granted, believe it or not, if there are no what I would call wow moments. Easy to take for granted a band that's really good that just doesn't have any wow moments. Norfolk State, that's where they are right now. Southern University making the halftime score on the field. or a wow moment was A&T at the Honda Battle of the Bands a couple of years back, where they started introducing a lot of the drum and bugle corps movements towards the end of the show. Those are wow moments. And as we get to the Honda Battle of the Bands, it's kind of what I'm looking at is some of the bands that are there. Are they going to give us any wow moments? I saw them later on in the year on a video, watching them straight up, like right in front of the band, not from above, but right in front of them. And the thing that impressed me there was the marching. In this day and age, marching is something that is honestly overlooked. There's not enough bands that really march. But I'm going to tell you, though, if you can get your band to march, like get that high knee lift, if it's 45 degrees or 60 degrees or 90 degrees, whatever it is, make sure your band is doing that and everybody's uniform. I promise you it's going to add so much energy to your show. And when I saw Norfolk, they all were pretty much marching 90 degrees, and it was so exciting to watch them march. Like, oh my gosh, it brings energy to the music that you're playing. It brings energy overall to your performance. It doesn't really matter what formations that you're making. If you're not doing a good job of everybody being uniform on the way there, the energy level is going to be low. But if that band is cranking, particularly if they're facing home and they're going to give you 16 counts of us just high knee lift, you're doing that, then you're really getting your audience excited for what's to come. A difference between a wow moment and a gimmick honestly has a lot to do with how you get to it. A gimmick is more so is kind of like, we're not doing the best job, so we need this thing in order to save our show. I think a gimmick simply happens if you have not instilled in your band enough quality. If you haven't instilled in your band the marching technique, the uniformity, the playing technique, all those things, if you haven't instilled that in your band, then when you drop something in, it's automatically going to become a gimmick.
Need to write music and drill? Get it on the field. Outfit your band. Keep your administrator happy and still have a life. Encountering drama in the process, ain't nobody got time for that. Let Block Band Music assist you with musical arrangements and drills to fit your band, and also the equipment, gear, and accessories to keep the visuals, music, and marching on point. Contact blockbandmusic@gmail.com and see how this worldwide minority-owned business can uplift your band.
Hello, this is Sloan Toussaint Baptiste, personal trainer and CEO of Chessboard Enterprise. I'm also a graduate of Rutgers University, and I now live in California, where I teach young people how to play chess and start up business enterprises. And you're listening to the Marching Podcast Radio Network.
Getting back into Norfolk State, on the field, they're fantastic. The marching is incredible right now. Really one of the best bands in our style right now as it pertains to the particular marching style. Making sure that everybody has it. Their field execution is very good. They could use some more wow moments. They are lacking right now in the stands, and that I believe they're going to develop. So let's talk a little bit about that fifth quarter with them and North Carolina A&T. You started out with them playing, I wrote down Beholden or Beholder, because it sounded like a remix of Behold. Sounded good. I believe I wrote here something about the fact that it was kind of a square dance or something like that. I don't know what that is, so I'll watch the video again and maybe it'll make sense to me. A&T responded by playing You Can Hate Me Now. Norfolk State responded with I Love Music. There wasn't really anything that was awesome about it that made me write down any notes about it. A&T responded with Remember the Time. This is a perfect example of Norfolk State not being right there in the stands quite yet. Remember the Time for A&T. I love those counter melodies and in the mellophones. Again, the mellophones in the middle were kind of a little off a little bit in tempo, but the dissonant chords that A&T had really sounded great. And for those of you who are familiar or have ever used a piano to pluck out the chords and remember the time, it is awful. The first chord to that song is awful. I mean, you're talking about the E natural in there and the E flat in there. It's just an awful chord, but it sounds great. And A&T sounded great playing it. And it really was a moment for A&T that really helped them to stand out. Whereas Norfolk State really didn't have that many moments in the stands that helped them to stand out. I mean, Norfolk responded with My Body, is a song by Sierra, based off of My Boo before My Boo became the Running Man Challenge. The low tuba note at the beginning of that was a little too edgy for what I would like here. But I did like the trumpet grace note towards the end of that. Nice trombones on the melody, and nice trombones on the chords. I do kind of like how they did play with both of the arrangements. A&T responded with She Was a Friend of Mine. Baritone's a little out of tune. It wasn't the greatest showing for A&T on that song, so therefore it left Norfolk State an opportunity to jump back in. Norfolk responded with Father Lift My Hands. That's what it is, a big Kanye West song for the year. It was the best sound that Norfolk had this game. Great sustains in the woodwinds, very articulate woodwinds. I wasn't really feeling the ending though. It wasn't exciting on that ending. A&T, I believe they played King of the Streets. This really was the worst performance of the night from A&T here. So Norfolk State is starting to have the opportunity to pull it off. Norfolk State responded with Michael Jackson's Leave Me Alone. Balance lacking due to a lack of trumpets. Their low brass section is pretty much right where they need to be, pretty even with A&T, but they don't have that many trumpets. And so therefore the chorus was really ineffective because they didn't really have any trumpets to back it up. Also the mellophones didn't come through. This was Behold, great low brass here, nice woodwind run, trumpet screams just like they did way back in the past, so that sounded good. This gave A&T the opportunity to kind of put the nail in the coffin here with their best song of the night, Liberian Girl, you know that you changed my world. Michael Jackson here. Norfolk State played a Michael Jackson song, and A&T responded back with a Michael Jackson song. That's play calling right there. Trumpets and baritones, fantastic job. A&T's best performance of the night. This led to Norfolk State basically wrapping it up for the night. They played Behold, great low brass, nice woodwind runs. I love the trumpet screaming, just like we've heard in the past back in the early 2000s. Welcome back trumpets. Well, welcome back scream trumpets. A&T responded as Norfolk State was ready to pack it up and get on out of there with something I didn't know what it was, but I kind of liked it. They finished up the fifth quarter with Velvet Rope. Norfolk State is doing a great job on the field. They're going to have to step it up a notch a little bit in the stands in order to really be a contender. But I'm very excited about what they're going to do. If they can put some wow moments in their show, I really believe that Norfolk State will be a great contender. Much as it hurts my heart to say, but they will be a great contender for 2018 Honda Battle of the Bands.
Welcome back. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, please contact the show and we'll give you the criteria so we can start to pub your business using our platform. We'll play your commercial, we'll post your website on our blog, and we'll help send out information through social media. So contact us so we can help build your business. We've come to the end of our podcast. Check out the website and donate what's in your heart to themarchingpodcast.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow our blog at blog4.themarchingpodcast.com, and also check out the website blockbandmusic.com and follow them on Twitter at blockbandmusic. Thanks to you for listening, and remember, the lectures you deliver may be very fine and true, but I'd rather get my lesson by observing what you do. See you next time.